Moderator, please share your screen, please. Sorry, we will share the screen, don't worry.
Okay, nice to see you. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. IPP.
Good afternoon, everyone. We would now take the national anthem. May we all rise, please. And is Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. We'll just recite it. We'll recite it. One, two, go. We'll just recite it.
Nigeria,
Nigeria, we hail thee, on their native land.
Though tribes
and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud, serve our sovereign motherland.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. That's national anthem that was signed back into law to be reverted to the old national anthem. Good afternoon, everyone, once again. Good afternoon, everyone. The President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobril, FCIPM, the Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Obejesi, MCIPM, the National Treasurer, Mrs. Okochukwu Egbono, MCIPM, the immediate past President, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM, FNNI, distinguished elected council members, governing council members, fellows of our great institutes, members of CIPM present on this call, non-members as well, our guests, our distinguished panelists and guest speakers, our moderator, staff of the headquarters of CIPM. I say good afternoon to you and welcome to the May edition of the CIPM and You webinar series. Today, Wednesday, 29th May, 2024, with the theme, Data Privacy and Cybersecurity, Business Implications for HR. My name is Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Registrar Chief Executive. With the permission of the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, I would ask that we all please rise as we take the Institute's Code of Conduct if you are not driving. May we all please rise. Thank you. You recite after me and you insert your name in the I and just to run. If you're not a member of CIPM, please be careful not to put your name as a member. We're watching you online and offline as well. And would ask you very swiftly to join us once you pledge that you're a member of the Institute. Thank you. You recite after me. Code of Conduct. The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
As the apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria.
As the apex regulatory body for human resource management practice in Nigeria.
Is committed to the highest possible standards of professional conduct.
Is committed to the
highest possible standard of professional conduct
and competency among its members.
Competency among its members.
Therefore,
Therefore,
as a member of the Institute
As a member of the institute, I,
Ahmed Ladan Gobir,
Olumoye,
pledge that I shall at all times
pledge that I
pledge
shall
that
at
I
all
shall at all times
carry out my duties and responsibilities
carry out
my
my
duties
duties and
and
responsibilities
with
responsibilities
integrity and diligence.
with
integrity and
integrity and
diligence.
diligence.
Demonstrate competence and ethical behavior
demonstrate
Demonstrate
competence
Demonstrate
and
competence
ethical
and
behavior
ethical behavior
in all my business,
in
in
all
all
my
my
business,
business,
professional and personal activities.
professional
professional
and
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 personal
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 activities,
activities.
activities.
Respect the laws of the land.
respect the laws
The
of the
laws
land,
of the land.
Promote, encourage, and emplace acceptable processes
Promote, encourage,
encourage and in
Encourage
place
place
acceptable
acceptable
processes
processes
and procedures in the practice of human resource management
and procedures in the practice of
practice
human
of
resource
human resource
management
management
within my sphere of influence.
within my
within my
in my
sphere of
sphere of
influence.
influence.
Endeavor to make personal decisions
Endeavor to make
Endeavor to make
personal
personal
decisions
decisions
after considering all options,
after
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 considering
considering
all
considering
all
all
options,
options,
of which resignation may be one,
of
of
which
which
resignation may be
resignation
one
may be one.
in defense of this code of conduct.
in
in
defense of
Defense
this
of
code of
this code of
conduct.
conduct.
Where there are conflicts between my professional obligations
where there
Where
are
there are
Where there are
conflicts
conflicts
between my
between my
professional
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 obligations
obligation
and the expectations of my job roles.
and the
and the
expectations
expectations
expectation
of
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 my
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 job
job
job.
role.
role.
So help me God.
So
So
help
help
me
me God.
God.
Amen. You may be seated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All protocols duly observed. At this point, I would like to invite the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobir, FCIPM, to please take his opening remarks. You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar. The Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Obiejesi, MCIPM. The National Treasurer, Mrs. Ogochukwu Egwonu, MCIPM. The Registrar and Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM. The immediate past President, Mr. Olusegun Majid, FCIPM, FNLI. Distinguished elected council members, governing council members and fellows, call. Our distinguished panelists for today's webinar series, Sandra Uko, Vice President, Infrastructure Security at Reliance Information Systems Limited, Temitope Ologunye, MCIPM, Chief Operating Officer at Autotech Africa, Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, our newly elected council member and head of HR for SynLab, our moderator, Sean Olabode Badiru, MCIPM, Chairman of the State Branch and co-founder of Africa Tech Hub Limited. Distinguished members of our respected institute, staff of the CIPM headquarters, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you all to the May edition of the CIPM and You program. Our topic today is data privacy and cybersecurity, business implications for HR. This is very paramount and is of very big importance in our increasingly digital world. This is particularly a very special occasion for me, as it marks my very first official function and one in which I am addressing you all for the first time since our 55th annual general meeting and elections held last week, Thursday, 23rd May 2024, where I was elected as president and chairman of the governing council of our very great institute. As we embark on this new journey, I want to assure you all that my team and I are committed to driving CIPM to greater heights. However, we cannot do this alone. We will therefore be calling for the support of each and every one of you to push CIPM and our agenda forward. Together, we can achieve our shared vision for a stronger and a more resilient institute. I'm particularly thrilled to be part of this program today and to be among such distinguished listeners and panelists who have dedicated their time to engage in this critical discussion. According to the official cybercrime report, recently published by Cybersecurity Ventures and sponsored by eCentire in the 2024 Global Cybercrime Review, global cybercrime costs are projected to now reach about $10.5 trillion annually. This reflects the ever-growing threat landscape that we face as businesses and as HR practitioners. These alarming statistics, of course, highlight the critical need for robust data privacy and cybersecurity measures within our organizations. Today, our speakers and panelists will shed light on the critical intersection between data privacy, cybersecurity, and human resources. Our expert speakers will provide critical insights into how we can safeguard our organizations, protect our employees and their sensitive information, and of course, navigate the complexities of data protection laws and regulations. I therefore encourage you all to engage actively, ask questions, and share your experiences during the course of this engagement. This is an opportunity for us all to learn from each other and to equip ourselves with the knowledge and tools necessary to enhance our cybersecurity practices and ensure data privacy within our organizations. Let me conclude by expressing our deepest gratitude to our speakers and panelists and to our moderator, and of course to the HQ staff who put this together for their dedication and tireless effort in making this event possible. Let us all take this opportunity to deepen our understanding and reinforce our commitment to data privacy and cybersecurity. Thank you all for your presence once again and participation in this very important webinar. Together, we can build a safer and more secure future for our organizations. Thank you. Long live the CIPM. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. CIPM, we deliver value to people. Thank you very much. Madam Registrar, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Round of applause. Thank you very much, sir, to the President and Chairman of the Governing Council and your maiden speech as the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, which is different from the acceptance speech. Thank you very much, sir. At this point, I would like to hand over to the moderator. Should I say Reverend Pastor, Mr. Engineer?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Badiru, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Standing on the already established protocol, it's a privilege to be here and to be with great men, and women on this call. We are hopeful that the way we handle data and cybersecurity issues in our organizations will change after today's session. So today we are diving into a really important topic: data privacy and cybersecurity, business implications for HR. Yeah, we all know that in our digital world, data privacy and cybersecurity are huge, especially for HR, which handles a ton of sensitive employee information. The fallout from a data breach or cyber attack can be pretty severe. Financial losses, regulatory penalties, a really big hit, to the organization's reputation. So it's a big deal. Yeah, it's crucial for us to stay on top of current threats, protective measures, and best practices in cybersecurity. Luckily, we have an amazing panel with us on this call today who are experts in their fields. They are going to help us unpack these complex issues, and we will really have a refreshing time today. So, but before we dive in, please let's start with some introductions. Our esteemed panel, could you each briefly introduce yourselves and tell us about your role in the context of data privacy and cybersecurity? So we're going to start, they said ladies first. So I'm going to start with Sandra. So Sandra, you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. All protocols duly observed. It's a privilege to be on the call with great men and women today. I don't take that for granted. And so my name is Sandra Uko, and I hold the position of Vice President, Infrastructure Security with Reliance Infosystems Limited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we go to ECM Adeyemi Ajayi.
Good afternoon, distinguished members of the Institute. My name is Adeyemi Ajayi, a fellow of the Institute, and I'm the head of human resources for SynLab and the team lead for SynLab Emerging Markets. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome, sir. Last but not the least, we go to Timi Tope Ologunoye.
Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening from anywhere you are joining us from around the world. My name is Timi Tope Ologunoye. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at AutoCheck Africa with a background in finance, change management, and HR. I actually drive operational excellence and strategic growth at AutoCheck Africa, and that includes directly overseeing our technology adoption and innovation. And that is where I think cybersecurity and privacy falls in. So I'm delighted to be on the panel today, and I am going to learn and unlearn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Without much ado, we will swing into action and dive straight into the questions of the day. Now, I'm going to start with Sandra. Again, ladies first. Now, Sandra, cybersecurity threat seems to be evolving constantly and can really be impactful to organizations, can really impact organizations, negatively. For example, a ransomware attack can lock critical systems and data, forcing an organization to pay a ransom to regain assets, which can lead to significant financial losses and operational downtime. Now, from your perspective, what are the most significant cybersecurity threats currently targeting organizations? That is, the biggest dangers organizations face right now from cyber attacks. Sandra, over to you.
Right, thank you very much. So as you just mentioned about the ransomware is one of the biggest threats facing organizations nowadays. So what happens with ransomware is a software encrypts critical data, and at the point of encrypting, the hackers or attackers or the perpetrators of evil will request you to pay a ransom. And even after paying that ransom, it's still not certain that you're going to get your data. And they might also use that data they are getting against the business and against you as an individual. So most times, businesses are mainly targeted and the HR department is not left out, because pretty much we hold most of the critical workloads when it has to do with employees. Then also phishing and social engineering. We could hear cases where people see malicious links, they don't know. They just click on it over email, they feel it's legitimate, and from there, their data also get encrypted. And at the end of the day, it becomes an issue as well. Then for cloud security threats also, it's also one part, because we know data is evolving and we are mostly moving our data from on-premise to cloud. So as much as we go to the cloud, we should know that there is a big loophole there. Every OEM, original equipment manufacturer, will tell you protecting of their platform is their workload, but protecting of your data is your own workload. So, and I know HR now uses a lot of practices around AI, around cloud automation, data automation, and all of that. So it's pretty much important to put that in mind. And as well, I'll be rounding up with insider threats. So insider threats could be from within the organization. Probably they are disgruntled employees or ex-employees. And at the end of the day, they still have access to their credentials. They could do anything. And it might not even be the employee doing it willingly or purposely. It could be someone who has access to that particular employee's credential that is going to use that to perpetrate evil. So I'm just going to stop here so I don't take so much of our time. But I believe on the chat window, we could take more questions and give answers to them. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those insights. You really nailed it. As a matter of information, please, esteemed participants, if you have questions, please just drop them in the Q&A box. Esteemed panel will do justice to your questions at the appropriate time. Now, next, I will go to ECM Yemi Ajayi. ECM, on 12th June 2003, our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, signed the Nigeria Data Protection Bill 2023 into law as the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023. And, you know, if you remember very well, the act establishes the legal framework for the regulation of personal data in Nigeria and replaces the, Nigerian Data Protection Regulation 2019 and the NDPR Implementation Framework 2019 issued under the National Information Technology Development Agency Act. Now, these changes in data privacy regulations can significantly impact how HR departments handle employee data. My question to you is, how has the evolving regulatory landscape around data privacy impacted how HR departments collect, store, and manage employee data? Over to you, CM Yemi Ajayi.
Thank you very much, moderator. So we'll approach the issue of regulations covers 4 key areas in terms of data management. 1 is confidentiality, 2 is data security, 3 is employee consent, and the 4th one is employee rights. Now, every regulation, be it the newly signed act or even the GDPR for organizations operating in Europe, having any business relationship with European companies, the regulations are about these 4 areas. Now, how does all of this impact HR in the real sense of it? 1 is the fact that HR collects data. And in collection of data, the principle of consent is very important, and the principle of confidentiality is important. How do we collect data from people? Now, in collection of data, we must realize that data minimization is very important. We focus on what is required and what is necessary for the purpose for which data is being collected. This is one of the things that regulations provides that we we maintain the principle of data minimization. Secondly is the principle of data limitation. The limit to which data that we are collecting can be used. That is, it must be for specific purpose. Three is the principle of lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. That is, we must ensure that data that we collect as HR professional, they are lawfully collected, not that we are collecting data through unlawful sources, and they are fairly utilized, and we are transparent in the use of those data. Four is to maintain accuracy of the data that we are collecting. The issue of spelling people's name or misalignment of names, surname, first name, last name, is very important that we pay attention to it in line with the new. 5 is the issue of integrity and confidentiality in how we collect data. So generally, the regulation speaks mainly to those 5 principles, of course, in those 4 areas. So in the area of confidentiality, we must maintain high level of confidentiality in how we collect, store, and utilize data. And this comes also with the issue of consent. For HR, during recruitment exercises, we talk about reference, conducting employee reference. Now, according to the regulation now, it is important that we get the consent, a written consent of employees before we send out requests for reference about an employee. And most often than not, even the receiving that reference, they must, of course, acknowledge the fact that there is a consent signed by the employee. They attend to that reference. That is for an example with respect to recruitment. We store data concerning performance management, employee health and wellness information. We must ensure that this data that we are storing, they are appropriately and carefully kept and secured. This is part of what the regulation provides. And then the right of employee to be able, there's what we call the data subject access, according to the regulation, which of course mandates us to provide access to the owner of a data to either see the data, review the data, or update the data at any point in time, subject to request. All of these are things that are provided of learning and training. The new acts, the new regulation requires that we appoint a local data protection officer or manager, as the case may be, who of course is meant to be trained and registered as the local data protection officer for our organization. And this person will ensure that everything that has to do with data processing of all employees is in line with regulation. I think I will pause here. As we go on in conversation, we share more light on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We want to plead with our esteemed panel that we should kindly limit our contributions to 2 minutes, because we still have a lot of questions to treat. So kindly, let's limit our contributions to 2 minutes each. Now, to Temitope Ologunwoye. We know data privacy and cybersecurity issues can have wide-ranging impact on business operations and strategic goals. Timi, how do these issues in HR affect overall business operations and strategic goals, and what plans should be in place to mitigate this risk? Over to you, Timi.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So I would approach that question from the angle of what you stand to lose from poor data practices, right? Imagine that you have a data breach that you really need to respond to, or a cyber attack. Definitely, that will be a significant destruction to your business operation that will definitely lead to some what I will call downtime that will impact on your business productivity. And right away, that will eat your P&L that particular month. Because even the resources that you would have channeled towards strategic initiatives will eventually be diverted to handling these breaches and fighting fires, right? And if that breach had to involve employees in the organization in a way that is really very painful, that could lead to a lot of loss of trust, not just for your employees now, but for all stakeholders that are involved in the business, including customers, who will get to hear the information about mishandling of data. So, bad publicity will eventually impact your overall brand and damage your reputation. You don't also want to get into that space. Another challenge can be an employee that eventually gets angry and wants to go to court. And then you get into litigation, for example, spending money on the lawsuits for litigation costs and all the stuff. Your employees having to visit the court with the valuable time that they should be using to do a lot of things is a damage. Besides that, NDPC will now begin to throw searchlight on you. NITDA will begin to write you, even if it doesn't concern them, to be sure that you are compliant with the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation, the NDPR, for example. So these are some of the implications. So in terms of how you can mitigate, the first place to start is to ensure that you even have a robust data management or security policy in place. That is role-based. You only give access to people based on the kind of roles that they have. There should be prioritization of training all our employees to ensure that this data security and data security awareness is heightened across the entire strata of the organization. And then if you are setting KPIs, compliance measures, you must ensure that you set up governance structures to ensure that you are able to regularly monitor these things. How are we complying with the regulations that Yemi Ajayi just explained? How are we ensuring that we are complying with the internal processes that we have designed for ourselves? And I think HR is, I would say HR is the tripod that connects all this together, working with the IT department, working with operations, working with the legal team to ensure that there are clear communication channels to pass across information regarding some of these issues across our businesses.
Okay, thank you very much for that contribution. Of course, a data breach can expose customer information and leads to trust issues, which can significantly tarnish the company's reputation and result in decline of sales. Thank you very much. So next, I'll come to Sandra. Protecting sensitive employee data is so crucial for maintaining trust and compliance with regulations. Sandra, what specific security measures should organizations, especially HR departments, prioritize to protect this data? That is, what are the top security priorities for HR departments to safeguard sensitive data in today's digital landscape? Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you very much. So I'll just go straight to the point. Data encryption is one of it. What do I mean by data encryption? You can encrypt your data while it's on your PC, which is at rest. Then you can also encrypt while sending out of the organization, which is in motion. So what is data encryption in the real sense? Data encryption is a way of encrypting our data to ensure that it is secured. Even when someone gets access to your machine, probably by mistake or something, the person is not able to access all of those data that resides on your computer. And like we know, the HR has critical data they hold and they handle. So it would be nice for the HR to drive up the adoption to ensure that even on their own end and even on the end of every other employee, data encryption is a key thing that should be adopted by everyone in the organization. And also for access control, just as mentioned by Mr. Timmy. So there is a need to implement a system for least privilege. So what I mean is in the HR body or the scope, we know that within the HR, not everyone is supposed to have access to some sensitive data. So we could classify data in terms of confidentiality, highly confidential, confidential, or public and private. So it all depends on what label you give to that data. That is what individual we have access to. So if I'm just like a level 4, I don't know how the level is being measured with CIPM, but if I'm just a level 4, maybe a least employee in the HR space, I should not be giving rights to critical data that involves employee health record, or pretty much, I would say also data regarding security information, residential addresses, and every other thing that is so critical that could be used to perpetrate evil on an individual or the business at large. So there has to be a need for the least privilege implementation of data protection on our data in the business. Then also secure disposal of data. Once an employee is out of the organization or probably has exited the organization, we should ensure that the data of such employee is revoked, like access is revoked, and all data are being removed. So if there is anyone who should have access to that data, then the access should be given to the next person who currently sits in the organization. But once someone exits the organization, it is good to revoke their access. And revoking their access is not just going to be done by the HR. I'm sure when new employees are onboarded on the in the organization, the HR has to send like a list of them to the IT department to create their credential and all of those. So once those things are sent, the same measure that was taken to send data for them to create an employee record, the same should also be done when an employee exits the organization. Ensure that access is being revoked, credential doesn't work anymore, they don't have access to anything related to the business. That way we can ensure protection across our data. So like I mentioned again, I'm just going to recap: data encryption, access control, and secure disposal of data. So by all of these measures, we can tell that yes, indeed, the HR is going to significantly protect the business against cyber attacks. Thank you very much.
Okay, insightful contributions. Thank you very much. I believe our participants are really writing, taking notes. I mean, these are loaded. Thank you very much. Now, next, I'll come to you, Yemi. We all know that policies and procedures, of course, we are HR practitioners. We know that policies and procedures are essential for maintaining data privacy and security within HR. Now, Yemi, what policies and procedures should
Hello, Sean.
Can you hear me?
We lost you for a moment.
Oh, this thing is saying your internet connection is unstable. Okay, don't worry.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I was just asking that what policies and procedures should HR implement to ensure the protection of employee data, and how often should HR review and update these policies to ensure that they remain effective? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, moderator. So, first and foremost, every organization should have the ICT policy. And this ICT policy has to be all-encompassing for the entire organization, not just HR. And then the subsection of the ICT policy will give credence to issues relating to, one, the area of data collection. And the policy should be able to specify who can collect data, what type of data should be collected, how should such data be collected, and in what form and format should the data be collected, and how often should the data be collected. So these are policy areas that the ICT policy must speak to. And this must deal with issue of specific and relevant data, explaining the purpose of the data, and obtaining explicit consent of the data. All of these must be clearly detailed in the ICT policy. Another policy area is data capturing and processing. ICT policy must cover, what kind of data are you going to capture, and how should the data be processed? Who can process the data? What will be the frequency of processing of the data? The tools that can be used in processing such data, and how the data should be harvested in the first instance. Here we are talking about issues relating to accuracy of the data capture provided, and of course the process that are specific to the data as requested. 3, another policy area is the area of storage, archiving, and deleting of data. The policy must specify how data should be stored: temporary storage, permanent storage, on-premise storage, offsite storage, backup storage, cloud storage. And then what frequency or at what point should we archive data? Some will say 5 years, some will say 10 years, some will say 2 years. And then when you delete data, at what point can you delete data? And then where does data go? Does it trash? Does it go into a bin, or does it go into archiving? Policies must be set in these areas. And finally, the area of data transfer and the use of data by third party. We must set policy, procedures, and guidelines on how can data be transferred, how can our third party vendors, outsourcing companies, even the company, regulators, how should we transfer data to them? For example, pension data, tax data, all of those things. What mode are they transferred? And then how can the third party use such data? All these policy areas that we must have, our policies and procedure that are clear on how this should be done. And the frequency of how the policy should be updated. Our policy must be updated at least twice in a year, and of course, more often every year. Because as things are changing, as new cyber threats are coming up, we must modify our policies on the go to take care of development. I think I'll pause there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for those insightful points. Now, I'll come to you, Timmy. Everywhere, business leaders play a crucial role in managing cybersecurity risk across their organizations. Timmy, what are some of these roles that business leaders play in managing risk related to data privacy and cybersecurity across different departments in the organizations, including HR? Over to you, Timmy.
Yeah, I think the body language of leaders when it comes to data privacy and security is really very important. So leaders should set the tone and establish a culture that prioritizes data privacy and cybersecurity across the company. All the executives and managers must be made as a matter of compulsion to model best practices, right, for handling data across the business. And this commitment also includes ensuring that management devotes enough resources in terms of budget allocation, personnel, tools that are required for encryption and all whatnot to be allocated to cybersecurity and data privacy efforts. Yemi already talked about quite a number of things that we should find in the ICT policy. So as leaders, we should not just promote developing policies. Well, I'm part of the evaluators for the HR Best Practice Awards. And when we interview organizations, a lot of these policies exist. But in terms of monitoring of execution and evaluating how effective, that is where most of our organizations really fail. And that is where leaders come in to ensure that there is compliance with policies that have been developed internally, as well as laws that are emanating from NDPC, from the NDPR and NITDA, for example. We must ensure that we monitor enforcement. I also think that leaders should promote interdepartmental collaborations to ensure that there is easy sharing of information. What are the latest attacks that are happening? What can we do to bring up the awareness across the business? Performance and accountability is key for me. I feel that if you don't measure it, then you cannot drive behaviors and attitude towards it. So as leaders, we must ensure that adequate KPIs around data and cybersecurity are set to ensure that we're able to regularly get reporting mechanisms that help us to be sure that we are doing what we're expected to be doing, not until we get penalties from regulators, for example. And we must ensure that we're enforcing different accountability measures, especially for deviations and non-compliance from different departments. That will also involve the carrot and stick, where you also recognize and incentivize departments that are really practicing this. Now, from my own practical experience, one area where HR has really been very weak and leadership has also not been able to put their weight is this issue of third-party management. Many times, yes, we have very robust processes, very strong risk management framework within the business. We even conduct our regular risk assessments, but we leave out the third party. So leaders must ensure that we oversee the management of how third-party members are handled to ensure compliance. If issues around the privacy, cybersecurity clauses are not in our contracts with third parties, those managing our payrolls, those actually handling employee background checks and all this stuff, leadership to ensure that all these things are actually updated and they are periodically monitored and assessed. Of course, ensuring training is also very critical, and I'm talking about context-specific training, because some of our guys also in the cybersecurity or IT department don't even have clear understanding of business objectives. And so being able to get them to understand where the business is going in terms of strategic alignment is very critical to their effectiveness in even helping the organization to actually manage its risk. So I'll just take a pause there, but those are different areas of leadership that I think can actually impact our governance and enforcement processes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, Sandra, I'll come to you quickly. Now, in the event of a data breach, having a robust response plan is essential. We all know it's essential to mitigate damage, maintain trust, and comply with regulatory requirements. Now, Sandra, how should HR prepare for and respond to a potential data breach involving employees' information? Over to you, Sandra.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll start from the response plan you mentioned. So when drafting a response plan, it is actually the duty of the HR to collaborate and communicate with the legal team and also the IT team. So when you're setting up a response plan, let's say, for example, an employee data got infiltrated and crook has access to the network. So what do you then do in the first place? You isolate that employee from every other employees. So such that if someone is breached, probably their computer, for example, you need to take it off the network, because leaving it on the network could be a loophole to every other devices that are on the network. So for making out a response plan, it's the duty of the IT, the legal unit, and the HR to work hand in hand. And of course, there are policies governing data in Nigeria. We have the GDPR, we have the NITDA, and every other one that we have mentioned in the course of our discussion. So it is very important that we structure and we plan our response according to those data governances that are given. And one thing to also note is, how do you then respond to it? It is always good to be transparent when there's a data breach, because I know there's like a penalty when data is breached and you don't report it as an organization. If it gets to the eyes of the public and the notice of the public, you could be sued, even for your data being missing, because it is not just your data you're dealing with. It is a data that comprises every other organization you're working with. So not just bringing up a response plan when there's a threat. You also need to ensure that when that thing happens, or probably when there's a threat, you need to be transparent in your dealings. And of course, you need to report to the respective regulatory bodies, because that is very important. If an audit is done in the organization and it's found that at some point in time, maybe there was a breach and it was not reported, it's going to be a negative, it's going to be a negative one on the business. So we don't want to have such a record when it comes to our data and security. And also when the data is breached, probably there's a breach from an employee, we don't leave out the employee just like that and let them deal with their own thing themselves. No, it is our duty to ensure that we take necessary measures. So measures like, let's say it's a bank data being breached, we need to ensure that we reach out to the bank, we tell them to block the card or the access to the account and every other thing that needs to be done. Then the same thing also applies to a customer data. If a customer data is leaked out, it's always good to ensure that from wherever it was leaked, we need to investigate. We need to check that machine and be sure that every other security measures are in place. And such security measures include protecting of our endpoint devices. So do we have the latest patches? Do we have the latest updates? We run Windows 11, Windows 10 on our computers. Do we have them updated? A lot of times we get policies across Windows updates needs to be done. I know a couple of us ignore all of those things. So as little as Windows updates is, it could be a big breach if not done accordingly. So there has to be a response plan to say that when there's a threat, there needs to be a remediation plan. You need to be transparent and you need to report to the necessary body that governs data compliance and security. So pretty much that's just it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we quickly move to ECM Adeyemi Ajayi. ECM, balancing data access and employee privacy is really critical challenge. It's a critical challenge today. For instance, HR needs access to certain data to perform their duties, but too much access can lead to potential privacy issues. Now, my question to you is, how does HR balance the need for data access for operational purposes with the requirement to protect employees' privacy? Over to you, ECM Adeyemi Ajayi.
Thank you very much, moderator. So the first level of the things that we need to always do is from the governance structure. We must have the IT governance structure also in place as part of our ICT policy, such that the approval levels are clearly stated in the ICT governance policy. For example, within the HR team, if you're an HR of several units of different departments, if you run the Center of Excellence HR system, for example, payroll information is limited to only the payroll officer and those who provide input. The security level and the approval levels of what each person can access is already known, and who can approve what at any point in time must have been clearly stated. For recruitment, who can access certain data? For performance management, who are the people in the HR team that can access the information? So your ICT governance structure, okay, would define this clearly. So we're able to balance the operational requirements with the access to provision of data to be fit for purpose, so that you are not accessing data that are not within your purview to be able to have access to. This must be properly guided and detailed out in our ICT policy. Center at that is the ICT governance, process itself. Just like you also have a limit when it comes to financial, authorization and approval. The same thing applies to how you manage access and how you give access even to information and data without necessarily compromising or delaying availability of data for operational use. I think I'll stop here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we go to Mr. Timmy Tokwe Ologun Oye. Timmy, governance frameworks and compliance measures are critical for ensuring data protection today. What governance frameworks or compliance measures should be in place to ensure that HR data is protected adequately? Over to you, Timmy.
Okay, thank you. I think the first thing is, and from my experience dealing with NITDA over the years for our NDPR, now NDPC, the first point of call is ensuring that you even have a data protection officer, even if the person is playing a dual role. So if you don't have one, I think it's very important that you appoint a data protection officer to oversee your privacy compliance, right? These guys are also responsible for implementing data protection strategies and monitoring compliance. What we have done at AutoCheck as an additional layer is to have data protection champions across all our different departments. And so I have a team within the compliance unit that monitors interdepartmental meeting amongst all these champions to ensure we're able to disseminate information around cybersecurity and privacy across the organization. In my organization, because we are finance related, we've also had to go beyond having QMS certification in terms of quality management system to go and get information security management systems that you call ISMS. So if your operation permits it, I will also encourage that you implement an ISMS that is based on, maybe I'll call it ISO 27001. So that will help you to regularly update and improve your ISMS, because again, annually, you'll be expected to do the audit of your processes. And I think it will not be out of place for you to have a data governance policy, right? That is very comprehensive, that outlines what ECM Yemi have talked about around how you handle your data, how you store your data, and what the access protocols will be, just like Sandra said, based on the roles that individuals play within your job architecture across the different layers of the department. So in terms of the compliance measures, you really need to ensure that you are not on the wrong side of law. While our moderator was introducing this session, he had explained how the NDPA came into be, signed by President Tinubu on June 12th last year. Now, this applies to anyone that is processing personal data, whether of persons in Nigeria or even outside of Nigeria. So it's really very important that you pay attention to all the requirements of NDPA. Access control is really very important. I won't overflog that because Sandra already explained it, and I think Yemi also talked a bit about it. Sandra also talked around data encryption. It's really very important that you pay attention to ensuring that you encrypt data, whether they are at rest or they are in transit, as he says. You have to have a very strong incident response plan. You don't get to learn how to box or fight when you get into the boxing ring. You must develop an incident response. You cannot say, I am immune because I have all the frameworks and structures in place, right? So you have to conduct regular data simulations. You have to have the team that is set up, and you must ensure those teams are interdepartmental, so they are talking to themselves, and everybody have that awareness. I think the heightened level of awareness is something very key. And the more you conduct regular audits and you identify non-conformances, you call them non-conformances, and you are getting people to correct them, the better engaged your organization is with respect to data protection practices. Lastly, I won't overflog it. Third party. Sometimes these third party issues can really be very, 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 be a very big pain. So you must ensure that you are conducting a thorough due diligence on all your third party vendors. Ensure that they are also complying with data protection standards so that you are not severally liable for anything that happens. Include those clauses in your contracts with them. So those are the things that I would say we should actually implement around our governance frameworks and compliance measures.
Okay, thank you very much. Our time is far gone, and we need to take questions from participants. But before I take that, everybody is talking about the future. We all know that understanding future trends is essential for organizations to prepare and adapt their strategies to stay ahead in a rapidly changing environment, and staying informed about emerging technologies and potential threats allows businesses to proactively address challenges and leverage new opportunities. My question to all of you, and I'm going to start with Sandra. Please answer this question in 1 minute. What future trends in data privacy and cybersecurity do you foresee impacting HR, and how can organizations prepare for these changes? What future trends in data privacy and cybersecurity do you foresee impacting HR, and how can organizations prepare for these changes? So I'll start with Sandra. Please, our time is far gone. Let's keep it within 1 minute. Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you very much. So I see Internet of Things as a big trend that would eat everyone if we're not prepared. So what is Internet of Things? We know that now AI does a lot of things. Even while we're on the call, we can ask ChatGPT, we can ask Genie or anyone at all to take notes of everything that is happening, which is going to record everything we do. So as much as we move straight to the cloud, and we leverage AI to ensure automation and help our business processes. Because the main goal of the whole thing at the end of the day is we want to be able to transform our businesses and also ensure automation is done seamlessly. So I see Internet of Things as one of the area where we need to stay alert on. And aside the Internet of Things, we also need to consider more rigid data protection. Like currently as it stands, when an employee gets onboarded in a business, you can get their data, request for things from them, and they give you. Then I think in the future, what you are seeing with cybersecurity, before you even have to request data from someone, you need to sign an NDA or a NDA, however it is. Before you transact with a business, there has to be NDA. So now with collecting of data from an employee who is supposed to work in an organization with you, you need to also sign something to ensure that the data is secured when the data is taken out. So I'll just stop here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Same question to you, Adeyemi Ajayi. We have a lot of questions in the Q&A box, and I want us to treat as many as we can treat. So please kindly limit this to 1 minute. Thank you very much. So over to you, Adeyemi Ajayi. Same question.
So to keep it short, I would say what we are seeing more now, which is becoming more worrisome, is the ethical issues in the use of AI and how be impacting how data is used, because AI is pulling information and data from all sources now. So it means that there needs to be a deliberate effort to further secure access to information, even as in the hybrid mode structure. How are we protecting our VPN system when people are not within the office? Is it time for us to also start thinking about what information to have in premise on server and those that we can allow to be stored in the cloud? These are thoughts that we need to ponder on as we move on into the future with the AI, driving a lot of things, and the use of AI and how we manage the ethical issues around all of this. Let me take a pause there.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, Timmy Topelogoye, same question to you. 1 minute, please.
Remote work is growing. A lot of organizations, in a bid to cut costs, are implementing bring your own device policies, BYOD. With that also comes increased risk into the future. So HR departments should stay awake and aware of that to ensure that we are able to secure access at every data point or endpoint of device use while maintaining compliance with data privacy. Another challenge that I continue to see is the fact that the cybersecurity professionals with strong expertise. A lot of them said they are cybersecurity professionals, but when you engage them, they are really not deep. Those who are professionals are really very scarce. And even when you employ them, 6 months, they say they are going again, right? So it's a challenge that we really have to deal with in HR. So being able to actually identify this area as area of core competence, where you need to have strong bench strength and implement a very innovative talent acquisition and development strategy around will be key into the future.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, what an insightful session. I mean, a highly refreshing session so far. I'm blessed to be on this team. I'm blessed to be moderating this session. I mean, I'm sure the videos will also be sent to us so that we can review them and listen to them again and again. Thank you so much to all our panelists. And we want to move straight into the Q&A box to see how many of these questions we can actually attend to before our time is up. Now, we start with question 1, and I'll direct this to CIPM Ajayi. It reads, how can HR departments in Nigeria ensure compliance with the NDPR amid the lack of a comprehensive data protection law, and what strategies can they employ to increase awareness and adherence to data privacy obligations among employees and smaller businesses? ECM, 1 minute, please.
Okay, I think we answered most of this question in the course of our conversation. We've talked about the need that there is no regulatory, that's not correct. There are adequate regulatory framework privacy in the country. First and foremost is for us to get ourselves educated and get ourselves informed. If you have not had access to read through the NDPA 2023 Act, you need to get that, understand it. 2 is the part of the recommendations in the Act is that you must grant access for all your employees to be trained every year. And of course, your local data protection officer has to be appointed, and the person must be certified, and the name of the person sent, to NISDA and registered with NISDA. And the person must be trained every year. And you must also facilitate a training for all your employees and acknowledge and send also to NISDA every year. So these are things that we must. First thing is to get aware and get educated. And of course, where you need help, reach out to other professionals for you to know what to do in terms of how to be compliant with the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for keeping to time. Now, if any of these that we have addressed before, just summarize under 30 seconds. I'm sure, I believe these questions were dropped before we got to those points. Now, I'm going to direct this next question to Sandra. Sandra, what measures can HR departments take to mitigate the risk of cybersecurity threats, such as phishing scams, malware attacks, and weak passwords management, and how can they balance the associated, I'm sure she wants to complete it, but that's where it is. I'm sure you have addressed some of these questions, so just touch them in a few seconds, and the ones you have not addressed, please keep it within 1 minute. Over to you, Sandra.
Right, thank you. So I'll just go straight. Security awareness training is a key thing, and it's a way the HR can help to curb all of those data breaches, especially when it comes to social engineering. So we need to sensitize everyone in the organization from time to time. When there's a new trend and everyone is going with the trend, as everybody said already, remote work is taken everywhere. It's becoming the order of the day. So as much as we are going into remote workspace, we need to ensure that every devices that has to access data that is sensitive needs to be protected. Endpoint protection, because we are off the network right now. And we can't say that the user device is protected at that point in time. If it was in the office, the network is there to protect. Outside the office, there's VPN and also zero trust. We need to implement a measure called zero trust measure, such that you don't trust anything. You believe everyone is going to arm the business. You believe everyone wants to take the data and all of that. So you need to ensure that whoever it is should have access to a data should be the right person by authentication and by authorization. Then privilege access management. Before anyone should have access, multi-factor authentication should also be in place. So those are basically the things that we should put in place as a business.
Okay, thank you very much. All of this you have said are very correct. Please don't use public Wi-Fi. They say it's free, but your information can be taken. There's no free lunch anywhere, even in Freetown. So that's a bit of information from our end. If I open Wi-Fi for you, you use it. Sorry for you. So please let's be careful how we and some of the sites we visit, especially LinkedIn, LinkedIn hash URLs, please be careful how I know all of us on this call, most of us are on LinkedIn, and we see the URL, but LinkedIn has hashed it. So you don't know even if it's a link to hack your account. And then we keep clicking all these links thinking it's a LinkedIn URL. It's not a LinkedIn URL, I mean, LinkedIn can also help you hash, a link to a malware, because he always wants to customize it to LinkedIn. So be careful how you click links everywhere. So those are my 10 cents. Now, Timmy Tope Ologunwoye, this next question is to you. It says medical information can be regarded as a personal data. How best can it be handled when pre-employment medical test is conducted and the candidate is certified unfit for employment? Can the result be shared with the candidate on request? These are the questions. This is the question for you, Tope.
I think the question has also been answered inadvertently in the course of the conversation. The NDPA clearly stipulates that you must get consent from employees for data, right? So even before sending them for pre-employment tests, you must now create forms where they give consent that I allow you to access my medical records on the basis of your pre-employment processes. And the Act also says that where the employee requests for data that is related to them as data subjects, you are also bound to make that data available to them. So the answer is yes, where the employee requests and it is an information related to their medical record, you are under obligation to make that data available. Now, where the catch 50-50 is in relation to employment discrimination on the grounds of certain ill health. We also have some regulations in the country that says that you cannot deny employment to employees on the basis of certain classes of medicals. And so where you are denying that employment, I strongly recommend that before you even make the data available to that employee, which you must, you should try to consult with your legal department to ensure that you are actually carrying that out in the best and most effective and efficient way.
Okay, thank you very much. Our time is up, and as professionals, one of the things we prioritize is time management. We are sorry we will not be able to treat any of these questions again. But I believe so much justice has been done to some of these questions before they were asked. So as our esteemed panelists give their closing remark, if there is any of these questions they just want to touch on in the next 1 minute, they are free to do so. So final words from you, our esteemed panelists. So we start from the lady among us. Sandra, final word from you, please.
Oh, thank you. There was a question on the chat window that speaks to data loss. Why should we keep employee data after they have exited the organization? So I'll touch base quickly on it. So the issue about not keeping data would lead to data loss. So it depends on the role the individual was occupying while they were in the business. So if it's a key personnel, then obviously we know we need to keep that data. And when you keep it, you need to ensure that you revoke access from the previous owner and then give access to the new person who is supposed to have access to that data. So I would say at the end of the day, security is like a key thing, and it is something we all should look out for. Do not trust anyone. Do not trust any system you're using. Do not trust the AI technology tools that are even helping you to automate your processes. Just believe that they are at risks and could get breached. So I believe with this, I will just call it a wrap. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much. I'm aware Isiemadi Emi Ajayi is already typing answers to some of the questions. Sandra, please, before you go, before we wrap it up, if there are questions there that you can respond to, please just type answers there so that the owner of the questions can get the response. So please, if you have asked any question, put your eye in the Q&A room. I'm sure answers will be provided. Same for Timmy. So I'll go to Timmy now because I know Isiemadi Emi Ajayi is still attending to some of the questions. Final word from you, and if there is any question you want to touch on, over to you, Timmy.
Yeah, so last 2 Fridays, I think that was May 17th, CNN and so many other media organizations broke out information about Arup, that is a UK engineering and construction group. It's a very large company. They have over 18,500 employees and they operate from 34 offices globally. So you can know how large their operations is. There was a story that one company lost huge amount of money in January, but we never knew which company it was until this news came out this month. They lost $25.6 million now to a deepfake scam. That's just about almost 10% of their net profit for last year, 2023. And it was a deepfake scam of a fake voice and the image of the company's CFO, right? Leading employees in the finance department, meeting with a finance guy, instructing him to send money to some secret accounts. And the guy first felt somehow, but eventually they got on a call. And then he saw all the images of the people he knew at the HQ. So is their voice, is their face. Everybody answered his questions. But this is entirely deepfake recreations by AI. So at the end of the day, the company lost $25.6 million to this problem of breaches arising from artificial intelligence and all this stuff. So no matter how strong you think you are, I want to say, remember Arup and ensure that you have structures to check. Like Sandra says, assume that everybody's endpoint is a potential source of compromise and have structures to check it every day. In my own organization, when you log in for the first time every day, there is a security check that runs, including your internet access if you are working remotely. And then if it is red, it will tell you, contact your provider or whatever. So you should ensure that you take this as seriously as possible. Thank you once again for having me on the panel today. It's been an enjoyable session.
Thank you very much. We are blessed to have you here. Now, last but not the least, we go to Isiemadi Emi Ajayi. Please, Timmy Tope Ologunye, kindly put your eye in the Q&A room. Any of the questions you can just provide answers to, would appreciate. Before I call on Isiemadi Emi Ajayi, please, the links. Esther, kindly share the links to YouTube account. Okay, it's been shared. The recording of today's session will be uploaded there, so you can visit our YouTube account later, CIPM Nigeria, to watch this session. And please remember to follow this account. Esther, you can also drop the link to our Instagram page and our Facebook page so people can follow and get the recording of previous events. Thank you very much. Over to you, Isiemadi Emi Ajayi. Final word
Thank
from
you.
you, please.
Thank you very much. One is, please let us know for certain the regulations say breach in your organization. You are liable to 2% of your total annual revenue for the preceding year, or 10 million naira, whichever one is greater. This is what the Act says. So to avoid this, let us champion the implementation of GDPR and NDPA processes in our various organizations. Let's ensure that the technical and organizational security measures are in place to protect our employees' data. Let us ensure that all our organization, they are up to date on this regulatory requirements of data processing. Is very, very important. Let us make sure that all employees that are responsible for processing data, they follow the procedures and processes on managing passports and processing personal information. We must report all suspected data breach immediately to NITDA. We must, appoint our local data protection officers and, of course, data processing champions in our organization. And more importantly, let us encourage all our employees to always contact our local data protection officers in case of any questions, so that they can follow the guidance and instructions and we can avoid being sanctioned. Thank you very much for having me this afternoon. It's been a pleasure learning from every other person I've been here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, all our panelists. This is where we call it a wrap. It's been an amazing, 1.5 hours. What a day. Thank you, esteemed, ever beautiful, ever active Sandra Oko. When I saw that you are the vice president of your organization, I was trying to key in some biases, but with what you've delivered today, you deserve to even be the president. Don't let it go out so the president won't say we are planning a coup. But you delivered so well today that if I have my way, I recommend you to the White House. Thank you so much. Timi Tokwe Ologunyi, of course, we can't expect less from you, considering your pedigree. And to our ECM, again, we can't expect less from you because you are sitting on, a technology project in the institute. Fantastic session so far. Thank you very much. It's yours sincerely, Sean Olabode Badiru, and this is where we sign out and hand over to the HQ team for the announcements and to conclude the proceeding for the day. Over to you, HQ team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just take the vote of thanks, but before then, just to remind us of the office tomorrow at 4:30, Lagos 91.3 FM. Please do not forget to join us. It promises to be insightful and interactive and engaging, but please do call in with your questions to make it interactive. So the office tomorrow on Lagos 91.3 FM. And we look forward to you joining us there. And we also have coming up in June for our CEOs, HRDs, CHROs. We have a forum coming up for you on the 25th of June, 2024. Further details will be provided. Thank you very much. On behalf of the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gabriel of CIPM, I would like to, and the entire Governing Council, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to our panelists Sandra, trust no one. Who do we trust? Mr. Ajayi, that fine is quite serious, 2% of total revenue. You can know that is the money issue for me that jumped out, or 10 million, whichever is greater. There's been a lot of insights and knowledge and expertise shared today by our distinguished panelists. And I would like to say thank you very much to Sandra Oko, VP, Infrastructure Security Reliance Info Systems Limited, Mr. Timi Ologunye, MCIPM, COO of Check Africa, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, Head HR, and HR Lead for Emerging Market Organization, SynLab. We cannot thank you enough because I just saw the numbers going up. We went up to like 660 at one point, and that goes to show, or even greater, that goes to show how important the theme and the topic is to organizations, especially in regard to data privacy and cybersecurity. And I think with a lot happening in the environment and the advancement of technology, everyone is sort of on tenterhooks and trying to ensure that we protect and we are security conscious in regard to how data is used. So we appreciate you for taking the time out to share your knowledge. We're always Oliver Twist, and I'm sure we're going to keep coming back for more to draw from your wealth of knowledge and wealth of expertise as well on data privacy. You are sincerely appreciated. Our moderator, Mr. Sean Olabode Bajiru, MCIPM, co-founder Africa Tech Hub Limited. Thank you for a fantastic moderation. You are our own. Everyone is our own. I think, Sandra, I'm sort of passing a message to you as well. And we're proud of our members and the great strides that have been achieved by yourselves in your various organizations. And the fact that we are able to utilize your skills and your knowledge in offering value to our members. So, Mr. Bode Bajiru, we cannot thank you enough. Thank you very much for moderating this session. You are appreciated. To our distinguished members, non-members, our attendees at this forum, we say thank you. We call you and you always respond, and very attentive as well, very engaging because you keep dropping questions and we try to respond. It shows you are actually in tune and you're engaging and you're attentive to all that is happening. We say thank you for taking the time out to actually join us at the session this month, the May edition of our webinar series. We appreciate you, members and non-members alike. For those that are non-members, you can see the value that CIPM, one of the values that we're able to deliver or that we deliver to our members in terms of knowledge acquisition and continuously and professionally developing our members. So please do join us. We are available for you to contact us, and you can also reach out to us on www.cipmnigeria.org, and we'll be available for you, and our numbers, contact numbers will be posted online now as we're wrapping and finishing off. To our governing council, led by President Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobri, will say FCIPM, we say thank you very much for the support that we get from you as HQ to be able to put this together, to all our governing council members as well. Without that push, we would not have been able to do this, and the encouragement and that is given to us and the empowerment as well. So we say thank you very much. And I'll just say thank you to my team members at the headquarters as well, from membership and market development. This aspect is led by Margaret. Margaret, thank you very much. Nkiru, thank you for supporting. Thank you to everyone, IT, comms team, Tayo leading the MMT team. I say thank you very much, and to everyone else that supported. And we hope that next month you'll be able to join us again, all our listeners, as we look forward to another engaging and interactive session. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to call on the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobril, FCIPM, to please take his closing remarks. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar. Good afternoon once again. Let me also thank everyone for joining us today for this very insightful webinar on data privacy and cybersecurity, business implications for HR. We hope, like the registrar said, that you found this session very informative and useful, of course, in understanding the critical role that HR plays in protecting sensitive employee data, and of course, in ensuring cybersecurity within our organization. We, of course, hope that the webinar has provided everyone who joined with actionable takeaways, such that we can all go back to our respective organizations to implement. Remember, data privacy and cybersecurity are not just IT issues. They require a collaborative effort involving the HR department, the IT teams, and of course, employees across the organization. Let me also join the registrar to specially thank our expert speakers who shared their individual insights, shedding light on various aspects of data privacy and cybersecurity. Of course, their expert knowledge greatly enriched our understanding of this very complex and, of course, rapidly evolving field. Lastly, I would like to encourage everyone to continue exploring this important topic and stay updated on the latest developments in data privacy and cybersecurity. Together, let us continue to work towards creating a secure digital environment for our employees and for our respective organizations. Thank you all once again for your participation, and we look forward to your continued engagement in our future webinars, beginning from that of next month. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much,
Over
sir.
to you, Madam
May we all
Registrar.
rise
Thank you.
as we recite the national anthem as we close this webinar series. Thank you. Just recite.
Madam Registrar, I think we should sing this national anthem so that we all understand it properly.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sir, let's hope our Gen Z can catch up.
They will try.
Okay, sir.
We will lead them to try.
Okay, we'll try now, sir.
Okay, all right.
1, 2, 3, go.
Nigeria, our own dear native land. No tribes and tongues may differ. In brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are bound to serve our sovereign motherland. Hooray!
Hooray! Thank you all. Thank you, IPP.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you to all our fellows on the call.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madam VP. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my president. Thank you, my VP. Thank you, Madam Registrar. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. God bless
Thank
you
you,
for
Madam
joining.
Registrar. Thank you, all the HQ staff.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
God bless you all. God bless Nigeria. Have a nice day. Safe journey back home.